What's good, YouTube? It's your main man codingworm, and I'm back with another video. And in today's video, I'll be following Godot's documentation to make my first ever game. Well, it's not really my first game because I've done games in Godot before, but that's besides the point. For the purposes of this video, I'm a beginner and I'm following Godot's documentation to make a game. Simple enough? Yeah, just like subscribing to my channel is simple enough. And now with all that being said, let's get right into the video. So first I started by creating a main node, then a spatial 3D node. Then I started working on the ground by using a static body. Afterwards, I added a directional light to the scene. Then following Godot's documentation, I started working on the player node. I added a kinematic body, then a spatial, and renamed it to pivot. Then I uploaded the player model that I had downloaded, and I assigned a collision shape to the kinematic body. Then I attached the script to my player node. In here I was going to code the player movement. Then I instanced my player into my main scene and assigned a camera to it as well, and I was able to move my player on the ground. I started working on my mob scene, and most of the setup was the same as for the player. Then I added a visibility notifier to detect when the mob left the screen. Then afterwards, I started coding the mob's movement. Godot's documentation does a good job of thoroughly explaining what each line of code does. Then sticking with the mob scene here, I started working on the spawn locations. Then I created the path for which all the mobs would spawn. Then I started working on the spawn time of the mob. I did this by adding a mob timer and connecting its timeout signal to the main scene. Then I wrote some more code for the mob spawning logic, and by the end I had mobs spawning in all different directions. Then I gave the character the ability to jump, and while I was at it, I gave it the ability to squash monsters as well. So now when it jumped and landed on one of the mobs, it would disappear. Not the player, the mob. The mob would disappear. So now I started working on the ability for the mobs to kill the player. This was done by using an area 2D node and assigning it a cylinder shape. Then I ended it off with two words: function die. So now that I had most of the game done, I just wanted a score tracker. The operation was simple. Every time I squashed a monster, I would get a point. And by the time I was finished, I had a fully functioning game. Godot's documentation makes it really easy to follow along and figure out what you're doing. It really is a simple read and follow. I know a lot of people were asking me to make more games and stuff, and I had this just chilling in the rough draft. Now I'm gonna drop this here at the end. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I keep telling everybody that, but nobody does. I looked at the analytics and it said like 80% of people who watch these videos aren't subscribed, so you could do that if you want. And that'll be the end of today's video. Like and subscribe, and I'm out of here.